Good morning, Giants, and anyone else joining my show. So, this is the Abigail Olaya Show, and today is episode 4. Yay! I can't believe it's gone by so fast. So, here we are on the 1st of March, and wow, 2 months have gone by. Let me go ahead and start with my positive focus. So, I always start with something that's going positive in my life. And one of the things that is positive in my life right now is I have like 3 or 4 running through my mind right now. I mean, the girls went to school in their PJs. Hey, Amy. And I am in a new setting. Well, it's not new to me, but it's new to anybody joining me on the show. And so this is our original business that we started 13 years ago called Venue at the Grove in Phoenix, Arizona. It is primarily a wedding venue. We do other events. However, we're over 98% weddings, and so you can see those pictures in the back. And I just love being here. It's good energy, and yeah, the reason why is because we're renovating our house, and there's like a tile demo going on today, and it was super loud. I didn't have a clear internet connection. So here I am. That's my positive focus. And I'll start off with saying I am super passionate about helping women, leaders, and entrepreneurs 10x their lives by being their coach, their trusted advisor, and their advocate. So the Abigail Olaya Show is the place to come for increasing your personal power, developing your own lifestyle of freedom. And the third thing is being able to live confidently into your desires. So what I'm going to be talking about today is being free and clear. Oh, you know what, Amy? Sorry, I forgot I had to click on the comments here. She says, oh, cool. I used to be, wedding efficient. Oh my gosh. Yes. There's such good energy, right? We always think that there's like happy time around wedding. There is some stress. Our motto is to have it stress-free. So that's so cool that we can relate on that. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Let's see. How do I take my name off? Let me see if I can do that really quick. Well, let's see. Nope. Oh, here we go. I didn't want that on there. All right. Thank you. Okay, so let's go ahead and what are we talking about today? We're talking about being free and clear. And what does that mean? So being free and clear to me is a state of energy. It's a state of how we move through the world, and basically without having any ill harboring feelings. If we look at it as like, what is that energy? It's basically feelings. Like, how are we able to move through tough conversations as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as a parent, and really into that leadership style? How do we have any kind of conversation? How do we approach conflict without that heaviness and that worry and that stress going into it, and get the most out of it to be effective? And so that's what I'm going to be covering today. So to be free and clear, it is one of my biggest philosophies. Really, it is. Let's see. Okay. It's one of my biggest philosophies, and that's how I move through anything that I'm doing. So right now I have several projects going on. When I'm working with people, if I leave and I feel about it, then now I'm starting to question it, right? Now I'm starting to go, oh, I don't like this. It's basically being unbothered. So free and clear means that I'm moving through the world unbothered. When I have conversations with people, I make sure that I say whatever I need to have said. And of course, I do it in a kind way. I do it in an effective way, but I'll go through the conversation. I don't settle into, okay, I'll just sit back here and let this occur and then be in a disagreement, right? So I really drive forward the conversation. We're going to go through all of that today. A few months ago, I was doing an exercise, and it was like a worksheet kind of thing to are you clear? Do you know your highest values, like your top 3 values? And I was like, oh, this is easy. I've done value work for a long time. I know my highest values. And so I went in and I did the exercise. You start with like I don't know, maybe over 100 values. You narrow it down to 30, then down to 20, then down to 10, and then, 5, and then after the 5. And so as you narrow it down, it started getting, or as I was narrowing it down, it started getting a little bit more challenging. And so it was like, okay, I got to the top 5. I had my 5 set. And from there, you had to pick your top 3 and rank them from highest to, the next one, second priority, and then third priority. And my top 3 on there were family, freedom, and growth. So personal growth and development. And I was like, yeah, those are my top 3. If you look at what decisions I make, if you look at how I move through life, if you just things that are important to me, those are the top ones. And so then I started ranking them, and I put freedom first. And then I put family, and then I put growth. And I was like, ooh, that's bad. That's bad, that little voice. That's bad. How can you say your family is so important to you? And, this is me talking to me. How can I say my family is so important to me, and yet I'm putting them second on the list? And I was like, okay. So I scratched it out or whatever, erased it on the typing, and I put in family first. And when I put in family first, it still didn't feel right. Now it felt, the other one was feeling like it wasn't right, because what will people think? That's where it didn't feel right. When I put family first, yes, my family is so important to me. They're ultimate importance to me. But when I put them above freedom and I move freedom down, now I had that feeling in my stomach, like, ooh, I don't like that. And so I leaned into that. I had a conversation, and through that conversation, I was able to discover that, yes, freedom is allow myself the ability to say that freedom is my highest value. And so when I think about freedom being my highest value, it's because freedom is my highest value that allows me to do things, allows me to be an entrepreneur, allows me to set my schedule, allows me to, because that's something that I want so much, to drop my kids off in the morning, to pick them up after school, to work late at night, to be able to maneuver all these things, because I want to be able to have that ability to use my time when I want, do that kind of stuff. Well, the other part of freedom that is so important to me is what we're talking about today, and that's being free and clear. So having clean energy when I come out of conversations, when I come out of meetings, when I come out of partner meetings, when I come out of coaching or going into any kind of coaching consultation or anything like that, it's like, how do I show up and where I'm going to be free and clear? Right? So I'm always looking for that there's no ulterior motive, that there's no, whatever is that like feeling, that I get rid of that. And so a lot of times I have entrepreneurs or leaders that are working with a team, and they're having to have conversations, or they're having to have conversations across vendors or different areas of within their business. And they get weighted by, oh, how will this be? Especially, this is what I teach my team in the wedding business is, when we were going through COVID, the beginning of COVID, and having to reschedule weddings, there's high emotion with our clients, being brides and grooms primarily. And so having that, we had to be able to go into those conversations, wanting the end result, wanting to be free and clear going in, that good energy, that unweightedness. And so when I think of, free and clear, it means that I can sleep at night. It means that I know I'm doing the right thing. So when I was going into those COVID conversations, I was looking at what is the right thing, right? What is the right thing? What's the right thing for us? What's the right thing for them? So it's not just a one-way street. So if I go into any conversation and I didn't say my piece, and things didn't get cleared up, then I'm not free and clear, because that's going to weigh on me. I'm going to be thinking about it later. If it's like I said, it basically means to be unbothered. And so we're going to go over, what does it mean? Why are we getting bothered? And what is it? If you're going into a conversation, really our minds start wandering, right? They start going through, how is it? Relationship with my higher power, number one. This is your Hugh's values. And they can be whatever they are for any person. It's when we start changing them, or we're not real with ourselves, that's where we now have that draining energy, have that weighted energy within ourselves. Whenever we're being inauthentic, or we're caring about what other people will think, or anything else and going against that, then that's where we get the And that's where we get the bothered, right? If we're moving through the world bothered, we're going to have all this energy spent on being bothered by something that we're not able to focus that on other areas. And so that's today's conversation, is to really look into how am I moving through and what is being unbothered. And so when I was talking about, if we have like, if you're going into any conversation and it's like, what are the other people going to think? Oh, what is it going to go like? Oh my gosh. Oh no, I don't want to talk to them. They're mad, or they're this way, or they're difficult, or even having to terminate employment, whatever that is. It's like, okay, yes, it's going to be a tough conversation. And at the end of the day, it's always a conversation. It's only a conversation. Everything is a conversation. And so it's like, how do we work things through and be able to have that peace, be able to have that freedom in the end? Nick says, good morning. Good morning, Nick. And Hugh says, being bothered by something tells me something I believe might not be true. Right. It could not be true, or there's something that we do that is unaligned with what we believe to be true, right? And so there's different ways of looking at it. So how does this impact your freedom? So the whole thing I'm talking about is being free and clear, and really that's really targeting to us being able to have freedom. Well, it allows me, if I'm unbothered, I'm moving through things more easily. I'm able to get things done, more things done. I have more capacity that I can hold space for when I'm able to focus on these things without having this weight, or this like, oh, I still got to deal with that. Oh, there's this person. Oh, there's that. Or I didn't like that situation, or that, whatever it is. I don't agree with this, whatever the organization might be going for, leaders that might be going in that direction, but they didn't speak their piece. And so now I'll start covering how to successfully face conflict. And so when I was talking about going into those conversations, we're having to reschedule over 100 weddings because of COVID. And so, some were, there's a good chunk of them. What was it? March 16th, that things shut down in Phoenix. And we had a 200-person wedding coming up March 21st on that Saturday that had been planning for over a year. And so being able to go in and have that conversation, I couldn't be weighted. I couldn't be concerned with, of course, I know that it's going to be a big thing in their lives. Of course, they know what's going on, and they're also going to have feelings. That's like a high Saturday that they've been waiting for, like in the wedding season. Saturdays in like March, April in the Phoenix area, especially in those months, because it starts getting beautiful outside, like nicer weather to be outside, those go within like a year and a half to 2 years. So these people have been waiting for that. And I can't be concerned with like, oh, they're going to be mad. Oh, they're going to be this. It's like, so the first thing is when you go into conversation is to focus on what you want. And you'll hear me say this in different topics. It's always focus on what you want. Instead of focusing on what you don't want. I don't want them to be mad. I don't want to be the bad guy. I don't want this. Like, let's remove all of that. That's not serving us. It's going to hamper us instead of serve us. It's going to get us caught up in that world. And then we're shifting. And now we're going into the direction of what we didn't want. We're going to be having them mad because we're making calls. We're not communicating. We're not present. We're all these other things. So the first one is to focus on, when you go into these conversations, to focus on what you want. And another part of that is I think about being free and clear in my language. And so there's a topic with when I work with people and we talk about focusing on what you want, there's a lot of like, when you talk about these tough conversations of like compromise comes up. And I personally dislike the word compromise I remove it from my vocabulary. I feel compromise is giving up something, somebody's going to lose, right? We're compromising. At least this is how it translates or how I view it. And so it's like, okay, you give something and I'll give something, and neither of us are going to get what we really want. We're both like coming to the table with having to have lost something. So being concerned with things I have control over and not allowing the other stuff to muddy up my thinking. Yeah, exactly. We're focusing on what we want. We're focusing on what we want to get out of it. And when I look at what is it that I want, I want, when we were going through those COVID conversations, I wanted it to be a win-win situation. So I'm always looking for, instead of compromise, instead of like, okay, I'll give you this date, but then this, or they feel like they didn't get it all. I go in with like talking about win-win. So instead of it coming from like a lose, somebody's losing. Hey, Nick, you said perfect conversation for today. Awesome. Yay. I'm so excited to be here for when it needs to be for people. So instead of it being compromise where it's losing, I look for it and it's a small reframing. It's looking at it as win-win. So like what would make it a win for me and what would make it a win for them? For, rescheduling their wedding. Of course, we still wanted to hold their wedding. Of course, we, don't have the next Saturday available, or we don't even know when COVID is going to be, or whatever. It was like so unknown territory in the beginning that we were navigating. And so it was like looking at, okay, what would be win-win? Okay, how do we get them another date that's like possible? How do we still hold that wedding? How do we not have them lose money? How do we not lose money? Those kinds of things. So it was like looking for, I would say the first thing is always looking at what is it you want? And then being open to the win-win. So I don't know what a win-win is going to be. When I talk to them, is it going to be that they're looking at November? Is it going to be that they're looking at the next March? I don't know what that is, but I'm open to discussing what it is. So if I'm focusing on what I don't want, I can't control. I'll never be able to control anybody else. I'll never be able to control what they think, what they want, anything. What I can do is I can influence. And so by going in, wanting to be free and clear and come out free and clear, clean energy, I feel good, I can sleep at night, we did the right thing kind of thing. Hey, Lori. That clean and free energy is what I'm looking for. Now I'm going to show up having influence, right? I'm not going to be in that fighting battle. I'm not going to be somebody's losing. So we're looking for win-win. Some people say like, well, you can never really have a win-win. And what if I work for an organization? They're a high up leader and they work for an organization or anywhere in the organization. And, there's a decision made and somebody has an issue with it. And so I work with them on like, okay, did you speak your piece? Did you present something? Not just in a like complaining way, but did you present something? Did you give an alternative solution? Or did we just like pull out and be like, I'm not doing this, right? And then complain about it afterwards? Because that's where organizations start to lose the morale, lose the momentum that they're gaining, is that when people start dropping off and they're no longer aligned with the overall organization, right? And so there's another concept that I like to introduce for leaders and stuff is like, also there could be a disagree and commit. And so it's like, if we speak our piece, when I used to work for corporate, if it was, there's an occasional that maybe I thought we should go in a different direction, or maybe this, if it was like high up with dealing with the VPs or whatever it was. I never had to carry that energy outside of that because I always spoke my piece. I always presented it to options. I always had things that were able to state the case or to be able to have that. And then at the end of the day, if the organization makes a decision, then now I, as a leader in that, I am now committed to fulfilling in that, right? That's just part of the employment agreement. If you're not going to have that, then why are you working there, kind of thing, right? And so I think that's a reason why we're seeing a lot of people resigning from their positions, as they weren't aligned and stuff. So anyway, there's disagree and commit. And that's okay, now, I can choose to see it differently than you. And as an organization, I am now committed to the direction. I'm not going to go out there and lead my team a different way. I'm not going to go out there and complain about it. It's like, now there's that commit piece. And so that's another piece that we like really emphasize within our organization, within our wedding business, is that, there's going to be some calls that are going to be made different than what someone might see. And we're asking that, our team shows up and is able to have that conversation and be able to work through it. And then it's sometimes at the end of the day that like, once we make a call, or, like whoever, once the call is made, that we are still a team and we're united and we commit to moving in that direction. Hugh says, work with them, not for them. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the other thing is that, let's say it wasn't, you had the meeting, you had a conversation. It could even, all applies to personal too. And later on you're like, yeah, that just still doesn't sit with me well. Then even with family relationships, right? And so like one of the ways that I move through those to be free and clear, as I look at it and I go, like earlier this year, my dad had quadruple bypass heart surgery, and there was like little, that's where now the family has to come together, or now there's little things, or people have different beliefs, right? And so like I had to be able to step back and be like, that's their call, right? Am I going to really go and have, of course I had certain conversations on what, but there could be differences in beliefs between siblings or whatever kind of thing. And so it's like really when those times get like high, I think in family situations, you really got to look at, or in any situation really, but I think that it's when there's a lot at stake, right? When even a company, wherever there's a lot at stake, that's when the heat goes up. And then we start going, okay, am I going to do something about it? I look at it. Am I going to do something? Am I going to go have that conversation? And if I did have that conversation, I circle back to the first part. What do I want out of that? Oh, I want control. Well, I'm not going to get that, right? I'm not going to control anyone else. So by asking ourselves these questions, we can start to be able to hone in on, why are we being bothered? Are we trying to have control? Are we trying to be in someone else's business? Are we trying to have reign over there that's not in ours? And that's a lot of times where we're being bothered. Are we trying to protect something for ourselves? Are we trying to defend, where are we inserting ourselves where it's really not our business? I don't know, some of those things. So it's always able to and it happens in organizations all the time, is I ask myself, am I going to do something about it? Like, what do I want and what am I going to do? And if the answer is like, yeah, I don't really want to have that conversation, or nothing's going to come out of it, or something else, then I got to be able to let it go. I can't keep harboring it. So that's how I get free and clear on some things, is if somebody's not going to be willing to take the action to get to the free and clear, then why keep it? Let it go. Find a way to let it go, is really, because then they're just carrying it. And that's like the negativeness, right? And so I want to remove all of that at any potential point that I can. So yeah, I kind of mixed two there. One is it my area to be concerned with? And am I going to do something? And if I'm not going to, then why keep complaining? Why keep holding on to it? If I'm not going to go do something and have the opportunity to, then let it go. Find a way to let it go and keep reminding yourself, you got to let it go, or go have that conversation. I don't know. I think that there's so much opportunity there for people. So the whole concept of what I'm talking about today is about being free and clear, being in that we feel good about what we're doing, about the conversations, about how to get the results that we want, and being able to move through things, because then you can move from one thing to the next. And that's how effective leaders get stuff done. They're not harboring stuff. They're not carrying it with them the entire time. He says, is a problem really a problem if we're not really, if we're not willing to do something about it, then it's not your problem. This is what I think. You're right on the nail on the head. That is it. Is it even? So a couple of tips that I have around that is to think about, like in any of these cases, sometimes we need more time to think about it, right? So I get a lot of like in new instances with clients, or I'm in a conversation, or this is like for an entrepreneur, a leader, even in family, in any kind of relationship. If somebody wants a decision, there's seldom times that we have to make a call right then, right? So sometimes we feel pressured to be like, what's the call? We make a call, make a decision, and then it goes out into the world. And then later we're like, oh, we didn't like that. Well, one, you can always like go back and, have the conversation, be upfront about it. And that's another part of being free and clear, is like, if I feel that I ever said or did or made a call and I'm not happy with it later, then I come back and I state exactly that. Hey, I know we landed on this, and after thinking about it, here's where I'm at now. Let's have a conversation about that, or whatever, something leading into that. But I'm not coming in and trying to manipulate it and trying to make it a different conversation. I'm just like, hey, here's the reality. I know this was the direction. I know this. And here's what I'm feeling from it. Let's, can we talk about it, kind of thing. Unless, of course, like if there's a call made with like a client, wedding business is totally on my mind today, because I'm thinking about that in so many instances. But where does that come in, where we make a decision, we can't go back to the client? Well, who says we can't go back to the client? I've been challenged I've seen people challenged in that, by having to go back and say, I know I quoted this, but this, it's a possibility. I think people have to lean into whether or not they want to do that. But most cases, you can have another conversation and be able to make it right. Or here's the other way that I move through, and this is big, is that I take it as a lesson learned. So there was a time where I basically, in the very beginning of these COVID conversations, we had someone come in and I gave away a whole nother prime date at such a, very minuscule cost. And what that did is that it, oh, somebody says, hello, hi, Facebook user, unknown. Nick says, yes, agreement with commitment leads to low integrity. Yeah, because then we're not following through on that. And then who's that hurting? We think it's hurting someone else, but it's actually hurting us because now we're not going to be counted on. I need time to decide. I rescind an agreement that I made yesterday without commitment. I rescinded. Oh, you did an agreement that I made yesterday without commitment. And that is so much more powerful, right? Because you went in, you're like, I'm imagining not feeling so good about it. And you're like, went back and cleaned it up. Now that person knows exactly what they can count on you for. So that previous agreement that you were in no longer has to hold weight. And what do we do when we're in? We are not free and clear when we do that. I'm so happy that you brought up that example. Diana says, good morning. Good morning. So I'm so glad you brought up that example because it's not being free and clear, and it's only going to hurt us. We're going to move through and we're going to be dreading it. That energy of like, do I have to do this? Oh, I'll put it off to the end. Oh, I want this. It's just, we're going to be carrying all of that. And what is that doing? It's taking away from other things. We think it's not, but just think about any kind of electronic device. Think about if you're spending all that energy to get X done over here, then it has very little left to be able to focus on other things that are higher priorities for us. So this is the whole concept of free and clear, is to be able to easily move and maneuver throughout your life in any area, in family, in business, in anything, in relationships, and be able to have that feel good. You feel good about it without that weightiness. Even when we are wrong, we become right by getting the correct answer. Yeah. So when we lean into that, I was telling you the story of I had a couple more comments. Nick said, yes, lost sleep over. Yes. So that was, and then you got free and clear. In my terminology, what I'm talking about today, you got free and clear today. And that's like freedom, right? We got freedom. And that's what it was. One of my big things of teaching people is to be able to get freedom in their lives. And like I said, it's more than just doing what you want when you want. This free and clear is like totally aligned in that concept of freedom for me, of feeling good about it and not being weighted by that. So freedom, yes. So I was telling you the story of I gave us a Prime Saturday over, and I had to afterwards when because I made the decision right then. Looking back, I could have said, even though I was working with the client, let me look into it. And this was in the early on, right? In my earlier conversations, I could have said, let me look into it and I'll call you back today. I'll call you back tomorrow, whatever that is, right? I could have given myself space. So I could have given myself space to take in more information, to just, how when you let things sit, you get new ideas, you get new insights, you might have a conversation with someone. So I could have given myself space. I didn't, and I committed that other Saturday. Well, I couldn't go back and take that away. And so this is the other way. And I couldn't just be like, oh, whatever. And so this is the other one that I use, is learning. I treat it as a learning experience. What did I learn? And you better believe it. I learned real fast because I knew what that dollar amount was over here to the business, right? And so I'm trying to reschedule these people into what is going to be a win-win situation, that they can still have their weddings. We're dealing with a pandemic, and I need to be able to have a business that's still going to be around whenever we come out on the other side of this, or whenever we reschedule them for the next year, right? I've still got bills, I've got people, I've got all these things, right? Like any of the other businesses that were dealing with the pandemic. And so it was, in order to be free and clear on that one, I was like, okay, I got to take it as a lesson learned. Oh, I'm so glad I learned that on one versus doing that several times, right? So I learned the lesson really quick. So I transform it into serving me as taking it as a lesson learned. Where can I apply that? And it works with anything. If I have, recently I had somebody that was a no-show for an appointment with me. And so instead of getting all huffy puffy and like, I can't believe they didn't show. And of course those are natural. They're going to come up. We're human, those feelings. And then, like for the slight second, I move through them very quickly. And then I'm able to be like, okay, what is my lesson learned? right? Like I thought I learned this a few weeks ago or whatever. And so it was like, I need to put more structure or more filter or something before I schedule this appointment with them, because I literally had altered my entire day. Something came up. I was like, okay, 2 o'clock, I'll drive over here. I'll make sure I have that appointment. I'll show up powerful, all these things. And then they were a no-show. And so it was like, instead of being upset about it, it was like, what can I take? What can I glean from this and take to be able to learn what the lesson is here? And so I made it mean that, I needed to have more checks or some other balances or whatever. And it works for me. Then I'm free and clear. I'm not harboring through the next appointment, or I'm not harboring these like upset feelings, or I can't believe, or I scheduled my whole day. It's like, I just move through. It's like, quickly, how do I clean that up? I'm looking free and clear as how do I clean it up? How do I clean it up that I can move on to the next thing and feel good about it? So let's see. Coincidences are unseen opportunities. Yeah, I think you commented here when I was talking about the scheduling of the other person. Yeah. So, okay. So let's just go over. I was looking at, did I cover everything I wanted today? Is, speak your piece. Always speak your piece. If you're not going to speak your piece, then I just don't like complaining. I don't like all that other stuff. Of course, there's some venting and other things that are natural to have as a human. And then it's like, how do you move past that? Okay, have your, 2 seconds or whatever time frame that you allow yourself, and then move past that. And it's like, okay, who do I need to have a conversation with? Focus on what do I want? Look for a win-win in relationships, right? And I think that that's really what got us through navigating, rescheduling all of those weddings, is that we truly did look for a win-win. And when there was hiccups here and there, like someone was unhappy or someone's this, it was like, okay, what can we learn? There was several lessons learned. And then, is it my area in other areas of our life? If we're being bothered, is it our area to even be bothered? A lot of times get so bothered by what other people are doing or saying, and it's not even our area. So just cut that out. Say, let it go. It's not your area. Someone told me there's a TikTok. I haven't seen it. It's like, not my circus, not my monkeys, or something like that. But if it's not your area, just let it go. And then that's it. So really, the whole purpose of being free and clear is you're going towards freedom. If you can be free and clear in your energy, if you can be free and clear in how you feel, if you can be able to go to sleep, able to move to the next meeting, and really, even when I talked, I kind of threw it in there earlier, even having to terminate employment with some people, to be free and clear with that is like, did I really show up? Did I really give a chance? And my answer was yes. Then, and I knew it was performance, or it was something else, or where did it, and how do I handle it to make it win-win as most as possible, right? Rather than having them be at a job that they're not even doing well or suited for or performing, or where's my responsibility on that, and the hiring, or different things like that. What can I learn from it? So it's always looking for my circus, your monkeys. It must be the TikTok. Okay. I'll have to go and look it up. So yeah, looking for free and clear in any of them. If I'm going into a conversation, what do I want? If I'm going into a conversation, what's the win-win? Like being able to listen, being able to have that intention, and being able to be in that state of free and clear. Because when I'm thinking about being free and clear, maybe you have a different terminology about it, but I even sometimes when I get worked up, I even tell my husband, I'm like, if it's something outside or whatever, I'm like, I want to be free and clear. How do I get free and clear? Even for my clients that are working through whatever that happened when they were younger, or it's impacting them in their entrepreneurship right now, or what's holding them back. It's like, I'm like, how do we get past that? How do we get it to where you're free and clear? And we're all on a journey, right? On different areas of how do we get free and clear? That's no longer harboring. We're no longer carrying that. And I think about, if I saw whatever, how can I approach it that it's not that, I keep saying weightedness, but that's what it is to me. So that weightedness. And so it's really moving through things, being able to take care of business and do it in a way that feels good. So that is episode 4. It's a quick one today. And I hope that you got a lot of value out of being able to be free and clear. Remember, when we show up, when we're being free and clear, now we're able to influence, right? Now we're no longer going to be battling or resisting or carrying something with us. We're going to be able to influence or controlling. We can't control. Thanks, Nick, who says, great show. Thank you. So Lori says, thank you. Thank you all for joining, and wish you a wonderful day or night, whenever it is that you're watching. Make sure that you're staying attuned to that gut check of how you feel, and look at how you can move free and clear. Hugh says, thank you. Thank you for joining. All right. Until next time, 2 weeks, I'll see you. Have a great day.